interview series, this time with a serial entrepreneur, Issam Chleuh, who's the co-founder and managing director of Suguba. So if I could ask Issam to come up. You're one of Forbes' most promising young entrepreneurs, and obviously a lot of your work has been around impact investing. So in the innovation space, how do you think this is actually relevant to the hospitality industry?
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to ask a quick question to the audience. Who have who have heard about the bankruptcy of Thomas Cook this week? Everybody, right? So who knows the actual reason why Thomas Cook went bankrupt? Can someone tell me?
What did they say?
I didn't hear. Maybe. Actually, the reason why Thomas Cook went bankrupt is because the company didn't understand that, this is the fourth industrial revolution. We're actually living it as we speak. And the company is doing business as we used to do in the 80s or the 90s. So their model is based around brick and mortar, typical model where their strategy is to open, travel agency all across the UK, in all the cities in the UK. But from a marketing point of view, they are still using brochures and things like that. So, this in turn have kept their operational costs higher.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, it hasn't necessarily increased, but it has kept flat. But on the flip side, you've seen more and more competitors emerging out of the market that are doing 100% digital strategy when it comes to, tourism or the hospitality industry. So Thomas Cook didn't do anything wrong, right? They just did business as usual. But doing business as usual right now is actually going to lead you to bankruptcy in the next 5-10 years. The fourth industrial revolution is just amazing because the path and the rapidity at which innovation comes to market and all traditional models become obsolete is just crazy.
Right.
And in addition to that, within the hospitality industry and the hotel sector, your future customers are going to be millennials. Actually, your current customers, for some of you, for the most part, are millennials. I'm a millennial. Gen Z is coming very fast. They're crazier than us. Like, we don't use pen. We don't use notebooks in meetings, So those are things that we need to understand, that not only from a technological and innovation perspective, things are changing very, very fast, but also, the way we live in this world and the way we relate and the way we see the world and the way we want to interact or the way we want service providers, whether it's in the hospitality industry or not, is different than the way, baby boomers were doing our generation before. So, when we look at trends within, global trends, of course, millennials, Gen Z, and just trying to understand ways in which to interact with them is important, but also look at, like, our generation and the generation to come take very important, sustainability, but also ensuring that, companies are good citizens, that they just don't do business to make money.
It's the triple bottom line.
Exactly.
Aspect. You say this, the hotel industry is pretty slow to pick up on technology and so on. So talk us about how you view your experiences in hotels and where they could advance.
Yes. Another trend, global trend that is important to look at is, businesses, systems, institutions used to be very centralized in a sense where everything used to be managed from one point. Let's talk about the case of, the global financial system. The US dollar was the number one currency when it comes to global trade. And the US central bank had a key role to play on, how and where currency and just, the flow of money were going. But now you see more and more decentralized system with cryptocurrencies where where actually stakeholders say it doesn't make sense to centralize power in one institution. It's better to decentralize it across the spectrum. So this is from a financial perspective. But when we look at it from various perspectives, it could be the same thing. Let's talk the case, for example, of Airbnb within the hospitality industry. As you know today, Airbnb, the valuation of Airbnb is higher than the valuation of a number of big hotel chains, like Marriott, Hilton, and all the other, who have spent dozens and dozens of decades building their infrastructure. And guess what? Airbnb is just a website.
Yeah.
So it's important, and Airbnb, the way I guess those new decentralized systems and decentralized innovation make money and create value and build wealth is they look at assets that hasn't been fully utilized, and then they see and find innovative ways in which to build value. So, I have a home, I have a room that I don't use, I can put it on Airbnb. We could do the same thing for Uber, and there's so much examples of, I guess, business models that are becoming obsolete or that are losing market share because of that. If we come back to the case of Thomas Cook, it's clear that now that they went bankrupt, innovators and innovative companies that are fully embracing the fourth industrial revolution will grab their market share. And Thomas Cook was the #1 player in the UK. And all of a sudden, it's done.
How do you think the audience can embrace innovation in this day and age?
Yes, so my work and our work has been mainly focused and centralized around, around impact investing. And impact investing is a global movement whereby now stakeholders really don't look at businesses just to make money. Of course, ultimate goal is to make money. But then if you only focus on making money, you'll end up having less profits, less market share, less value addition over the medium to long term. So this movement has really started after 2008. As all of you know, in 2008, we had the global financial crisis. And this has been caused by excess greed, excess desire for profit without necessarily taking into consideration the society in which we live in. Following the crisis, JP Morgan Chase, which is, a big capitalistic company, along with Rockefeller, came together in Italy, and they really brought stakeholders to the table and wanted to see and brainstorm ways in which we could look at the capital markets, but also, the capitalistic world we live in, and think through ways in which, these models, traditional models, could be used not only to make money, but also to try to have an impact, with the rationale in mind that by doing that, shareholder value will increase, those companies will become more profitable, and then those will be actually the winners over the medium to long term, even though it meant sacrifices a bit on the short term. So to come back to how this relates for the context of Africa, basically the way we're looking at it in Africa right now, and to be more pragmatic for the hospitality industry, is to look at how you players within the hospitality industry could bring your innovation, your business development, your strategy teams that are working on one end toward the next big investment, the next big strategy, and also your corporate social responsibility, where you use funding to make you feel good, make you look good, but where you don't necessarily have a good intent, where you don't necessarily have clear KPI on how to use that. So in a nutshell, those two currently totally separate business functions could merge to create innovation. And I can give you various examples. So for example, when you do CSR on the continent, whether you're a multinational or hotel player, what you generally do is you'll probably paint a school, provide furniture for a hospital, then go take pictures, put it in the media, and that's it. I mean, the thing about this CSR strategy is, first of all, you spend a lot of money. Based on Harvard Business Review, the 250 biggest companies spent $20 billion last year on CSR. This is substantial. So instead of using that money just to spend it on projects that will make you look good in the press, why don't you think about, using those budgets to empower the next generation of innovators on the continent that will come up with innovations that you could then take and include in your core strategy by having this CSR team work alongside business development, strategy, innovations.
I don't know if anyone was in the audience in the Dubai conference early in the year. We had a speaker called John Blakey talking about the trusted executive process, and of course the business, the leaders are under scrutiny, and I feel as if, personally, the term CSR sounds like it's a strategic decision, and it's sort of like we have to do this to look good. Yes. And I think that now everyone's under such scrutiny in business that if it's insincere and it has no relevance, then you're pulled up completely on this. So I think that what any organization has to do in this element is actually embrace the culture, and be part of it, not just sort of say, like, here's some cash. Exactly. It's not that anymore, is it?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it comes back to, as leaders within the hospitality industry, you really want to see how every dollar spent, whether it's with your core function of building hotels or with your CSR or community activities, how every dollar spent could be leveraged, create the most value, create the most impact, and then, have the most profit over the medium or long term. So if we take all of this back to the case of Africa and look at trends on the continent, we are one of the youngest population on Earth. There's so many young people on the continent that are unemployed, and then this really have pushed young Africans, millennials or Gen Z, to look at entrepreneurship as a way out of poverty, or as a way to get a decent job. So this population is coming up with so many innovations that all of you players within the hospitality industry and other can just take and embrace. First of all, this is good because all of the work that will cost you so much money internally could be outsourced for like 1/10, 100 of the cost. Because pretty much what you'll be doing is you'll be using your CSR money to empower and create innovations. Right now on the continent, we have 900 technology and innovation hubs. This is a 100% increase from last year. In 2020, we expect this number to double. If you go to Addis, if you go to any city on the continent, you'll find at least 10 innovation and technology hubs. Of course, some of them are not as good as the other, but channeling some of your money to those institutions could really help you gain much more money in return than just, painting a school or whatever. And so.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left. Are there any questions from the audience for Issam?
Be more philosophical, but I think the Thomas Cook dilemma is also a question of margins. High volume, low margins, not just technology and printing brochures. And the partnership, and I don't know whether it's a question or more statement, I'll try to turn it into a question. The partnership between those emerging disruptors, Airbnb, they don't own a single flat. There are similarities with the brands that they are asset light and disseminating stock and whatever. Uber, the same story, they don't own a single car. Where do you see that partnership developing and really making sure, and where are the mechanisms possibly that both parties actually benefit from it?
Yes. So for the case of Thomas Cook, you mentioned low margin, high margin. The reason why their margin were decreasing over and over again is because their fixed cost was here, and they had to take more and more debt because their margin was decreasing. And their fixed cost was pretty much renting travel agents location around the UK, printing brochures and distributing them around the UK, whereby their competitors didn't have those fixed costs. So obviously, those competitors could offer lower and lower price points to the point where, profit was starting to disappear at Thomas Cook, and then, they had to take more and more debt without necessarily thinking about, changing the way business was being done internally. So that's one point. To come back to your point around, how to find good balance between, decentralized system and traditional, centralized system for the case of the hospitality industry. You own beautiful properties all around the world. You own beautiful properties in Africa. As you may know, a lot of activities, a lot of social activities, a lot of, experiences on the continent happen within your hotels. Whether we talk about wedding, whether we talk about expo, whether we talk about, competition and things like that. Where, value can be created is see ways in which you can use empty space within your hotels for the purpose to bring more people in. And one brand that I've seen doing that very well is Pompigne. And pretty much what they've done is they work with a number of, not expert, but work a number of people within the lifestyle industry, within the, the entertainment industry, and has brought so much traffic within their hotels that even though this population coming within your hotels don't necessarily bring you a lot of money, what they bring you, first of all, is brand recognition. What they bring you to is, and with brand recognition and just the fact that people talk about it, how Pullman is nice, how this expo was great, how this, cocktail was really, really good, and then this end up bringing more and more people. You could do various ways. You could, for example, sponsor expos and at subsidized costs. You could sponsor events at subsidized costs. Subsidizing those costs can be covered by CSR, for example, but you don't know the impact that will have. You don't know who will come to those events. And people that come to those events could be big government officials, big CEOs. And then, I'll just give you my point. My uncle is one of the bigger players within the hospitality industry in West Africa. He owned the Hazalai Hotel brand, and they won the award last year. So every time I go to Côte d'Ivoire, I go to their hotel. The past 2 months, I've been going to Pullman events. And guess what? Right now, when I go to Côte d'Ivoire, I'm actually thinking, wait, should I go to Hazalai or should I go to Pullman? Even though it's a family business. So that's just tell you, and I'll stop there, yeah.
Well, thank you. We've run out of time, but I think we've definitely identified that there's new generation, and actually you've seen this sort of blended use of space more and more coming in. But I think there's two elements there. You're talking about both the people who are dealing with innovation and how we can appeal to them for a brand, but also how to adopt innovation into hotels to increase our longevity as an industry.
Indeed.
But thank you for joining us, Issam. Thank you for APO for organising this interview as well. And if we can all just give Issam a big round of applause for coming up. Thank you. Thank you. I'll stay on stage now, but perfect. I think we're on to our final thing now, our final piece. And I'm delighted to be able to talk to you a little bit about